Rare in professional sports, at least in this country, where somebody who becomes iconic is a late bloomer. Or we don't really know about him early, and all of a sudden we figure out, wow. We talked about LeBron at 16, Bryce Harper at 17, Tiger Woods at 13. That's just kind of the reality of how it works. There are very few late bloomers become a face of the league. Now, you could say, oh, Patrick Mahomes, but all football players go to 3 or 4 years of college, and by the end of his first year, there were rumors he was amazing, and by his second year in the league, he became really, really, really the most talked-about quarterback in the NFL, not named Tom Brady or maybe Aaron Rodgers. So Mahomes is not a late bloomer. But it's interesting. Zion Williamson, watched him last night again. He's getting better every game. The best team in the NBA so far has been the Utah Jazz, and he was dominant last night again. I would make the argument today that Zion Williamson is the second or third most popular player in the NBA. I think LeBron and Steph Curry go back and forth. I think Steph is very relatable to young kids because he's small like young kids, where LeBron looks just so monstrous and big. I think LeBron and Steph are the two most popular players in the league. I think Zion's already number 3. KD and Harden are great, but their personalities are a little odd. Giannis and Kawhi are quiet, not necessarily dynamic personalities. But have you noticed anything? Utah's the number 1 team in the league. The NBA's not rushing to put them on TV. The NBA didn't rush to put New Orleans on TV when they had Anthony Davis. Is anybody noticing how ESPN and TNT are fighting to get Zion Williamson on television? It reminds me when Tim Tebow was in the NFL, I was told by an executive that Tebow articles on Sunday night after the games were getting 5 and 6 times like the Patriot articles with Brady or the Giant articles with Eli. I think the NBA's found their next face in the league, and I think it's Zion, and I think he's already the 3rd most popular player. I remember a couple years ago, it may have been 5 or 6 years ago, and I've said this on the air with Joy several times, when 60 Minutes came out and said, Giannis is the face of the league. I'm like, I didn't know who he was until like year 3 in the NBA. Zion has 3 things that are really, really important. Number 1, he played at Duke, and his shoe exploded, and there was controversy around him. So we knew him as a teenager. I didn't know Giannis I didn't know Kawhi until he'd been in the league like 3 years. I didn't know Giannis. It's one thing for Bryce Harper, who he's in the minors, and I knew him in high school. It's another thing, like we didn't talk about Mike Trout, and then he went to the Angels, and he had to be great before we talked about him being great. We talked about Bryce Harper being great in the 8 bigs when he was in high school. So Zion played at Duke. That's why I've always defended college basketball. It's a good platform. NBA should use it more. And we knew who he was early. Plus the internet, his dunks. Secondly is his game is not only dynamic, it doesn't look like anybody else's game. I remember when Magic Johnson came into the NBA. There'd never been a 6', 8.5 point guard. He didn't even look like other guards. Magic had kind of a funky shot. He didn't shoot like anybody else. He didn't play like anybody else. Zion's game doesn't look like anybody else's game. And number 3, his personality. Like Magic. He's likable. He smiles. He wanted to play when his shoe exploded. He wanted to come back to college basketball, but he said, all my agents and stuff said I probably need to go pro. I'd love to come back and play college basketball. I think he's the 3rd most popular guy in the league. We knew him early. His game is crazy and crazy different, and I find the guy incredibly likable. That's not that James Harden isn't likable. He's a little odd. Kawhi is quiet. I mean, Giannis, we didn't kind of figure him out till later, and his game is good, but there's holes in it, and I don't find it terribly dynamic, although there are moments when he makes great plays. But if you look at how hard the NBA is working to get Zion on television, that tells you everything. They're looking at data, and they're looking at research, and he is jumping and popping off the charts. They're not doing that with Kawhi. Dame Lillard's great. They're not doing that with the Trailblazers. They didn't do it with AD and the Pelicans. They're not doing it with Ja Morant. They're doing it with historically irrelevant New Orleans and Zion. Joy Taylor with the news.